Most people think that getting everything they want in life depends on luck, talent, timing, or opportunity. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Your life will rise or fall based on the standards you set for yourself. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you're willing to tolerate, what you insist on, what you refuse to compromise. The moment you raise your standards, truly raise them, not just in theory, but in the way you speak, act, choose, and think, your entire life begins to shift. The outcomes you experience are nothing more than a mirror reflecting the standards you've lived with up until now. If you tolerate fear, you get fear-based results. If you tolerate procrastination, you get delays. If you tolerate low effort, you get low outcomes. But the moment you say, I'm done accepting less from myself, the game changes. Raising your standards isn't just about wanting more. It's about refusing to allow the old version of you to run your life. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, I will never again accept this level of behavior, this level of thinking, this level of energy. Every transformation begins with a point of no return. Until you hit that point, life remains negotiable. You keep saying someday. You keep hoping circumstances change. But once your standard changes, someday becomes now. There's a level of emotional intensity that comes with raising your standards. It's not casual. It's not convenient. It's a shift in identity. You stop operating from a place of desire and start operating from a place of necessity. And when something becomes a must, your entire psychology reorganizes itself around making it real. Powerful results come from powerful standards. People achieve extraordinary things not because they're extraordinary people, but because they don't allow themselves to operate below a certain level. Think about someone who is fit, disciplined, and energetic. They don't wake up every day negotiating with themselves about whether they'll work out. Their standard is movement, health, strength. Someone who is financially successful doesn't treat wealth as a lucky break. Their standard is contribution, consistency, discipline, smart choices. Someone with deep, meaningful relationships doesn't hope connection will magically appear. Their standard is communication, honesty, presence. If your standards remain low, your results remain predictable. You can want success with all your heart, but if your standards stay average, your life will reflect average. The moment you raise your standards, desire turns into commitment, and commitment turns into action. You start behaving differently. You start showing up differently. You stop being the version of yourself that makes excuses, avoids discomfort, or delays growth. You feel a shift inside you, almost like you're stepping into a new identity, because that's exactly what's happening. Identity is built on standards. When you raise your standards, you raise your identity, and your identity dictates your destiny. The greatest trap people fall into is believing they'll raise their standards after they become successful. But it doesn't work that way. You don't raise your standards because your life improves. Your life improves because you raise your standards. Your mind begins to accept a new baseline of what is normal for you. And what becomes normal becomes non-negotiable. You no longer need motivation to keep going because the behavior aligns with who you are now, not who you used to be. Raising your standards also reveals what's been holding you back. You suddenly recognize the habits that drain you, the people who distract you, the environments that don't support the life you want. You see the gap between the results you desire and the behaviors you've been practicing. And although that realization can feel uncomfortable, it's the exact information you need to elevate your life. Once you know the truth, you can no longer pretend. You start making choices that honor the person you're becoming instead of the person you were. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize the cost of staying the same has become greater than the fear of changing. That's the moment standards rise. That's the moment excuses lose their power. That's the moment something inside you says, I'm done living at this level. I'm done repeating the same patterns. I'm done accepting less from myself and my life. And once that moment happens, everything accelerates. You begin to attract different opportunities because you show up differently. You speak with more confidence. You take more intentional risks. You follow through. You act with certainty instead of hesitation. Life feels less like something happening to you and more like something you're shaping with your choices. Here is keynote 2 and 3 expanded into 1,200 words with no headings and no ending sentences. You know, there's something most people never understand. Clarity is not something you wait for. It's something you create. People sit around thinking that one day they're going to wake up and everything will make sense. Everything will line up and the perfect path will just appear. But that's not how life works. Clarity doesn't come from sitting still. It comes from commitment. The moment you decide, truly decide what you want, something powerful happens. Your mind, your energy, your focus, your brain's entire filtering system shifts. It stops scanning the world for distraction and it starts scanning for direction. It begins organizing your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions around that commitment. That's why people who commit move faster, think clearer, and act with certainty. They're not waiting for clarity, they're generating it. Most people hesitate because they think clarity requires confidence, but confidence doesn't come first. Commitment comes first. When you commit, you create momentum, and momentum creates certainty. That's why the moment you say, I'm all in, everything changes. Your nervous system locks in differently. Your emotional state elevates. Suddenly the excuses that once felt heavy start to fall away because now they don't match your new direction. You can't be committed and casual at the same time. It doesn't work like that. When you commit, you eliminate the mental fog. You eliminate the second guessing. You eliminate the internal conflict that keeps you stuck. Commitment narrows your focus to what matters and cuts off everything that doesn't. People think comfort is their friend, but comfort is the enemy of clarity. When you're comfortable, you're not searching, you're not pushing, you're not stretching, you're numbing. Comfort dulls your hunger. And when your hunger is low, your vision blurs. But when you step into discomfort with intention, when you commit to something that scares you, challenges you, forces you to step up, you activate a part of yourself that cannot awaken in comfort. Commitment forces you to discover who you really are beneath the excuses, beneath the fear, beneath the limitations you've talked yourself into. And here's the truth. Clarity comes when you make a decision that your future matters more than your past. You cannot get clarity by trying to protect old habits, old patterns, old identities. You only gain clarity when you choose to move forward without having every answer, every step, every detail mapped out. Progress gives you information. Movement gives you insight. Every step you take reveals the next step. Every action you take sharpens the vision. But waiting kills the vision. Waiting is where dreams decay. Clarity rewards the committed, not the comfortable. So when you want everything you're reaching for, you don't wait for perfect clarity. You commit. You take the first step. You lean into the unknown with courage instead of hesitation. You choose direction over distraction. And the more you commit, the clearer life becomes. There's a point in your life when you have to understand that nothing changes until your identity changes. Not your goals, not your dreams, not your intentions, your identity. Because your identity is the thermostat of your life. It regulates everything. It controls what you tolerate, what you pursue, what you believe is possible. You can want everything in the world, but if your identity is still tied to who you used to be, you will never access who you're meant to become. You cannot create a two life with a one identity. Your identity is not who you say you are, it's who you act like you are. It's the standard you demonstrate when nobody is watching. It's the choices you make when it's uncomfortable. It's the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind. If deep down you still see yourself as someone who quits when it's hard, someone who hesitates when the pressure rises, someone who doubts more than they act, then you will sabotage your own progress without even realizing it. You will pull yourself back to the identity that feels familiar, even if that identity is the very thing limiting your life. When you want everything, fulfillment, success, joy, impact, you have to expand the identity that controls the boundaries of your life. You have to decide who you are becoming, not who you've been. The mind loves familiarity, but growth requires identity disruption. You have to challenge the story you've been telling yourself for years. The story that says you're not enough, you're not ready, you're not capable. Those stories are lies disguised as safety. They keep you where it's familiar, not where it's fulfilling. And the moment you challenge that story, the moment you say, that old version of me doesn't run the show anymore, you break the psychological ceiling that's been capping your potential. Identity expands through action. Not through talking, not through planning, not through dreaming, through action. Every time you act in alignment with the person you want to become, you weaken the identity of the person you used to be. Every time you follow through when you used to quit, you build a new identity. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, strength over excuses, courage over hesitation, you reinforce the version of yourself that can actually have what you want in life. The reason people don't get everything they want is because they cling to an identity that doesn't match the results they're chasing. You can't want abundance while holding an identity rooted in scarcity. You can't want confidence while holding an identity rooted in doubt. You can't want massive results while holding an identity that only takes small, hesitant actions. Your identity must stretch. It must expand. It must evolve, because life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you are willing to become. And when you decide to expand your identity, something extraordinary happens. Your decisions shift. Your standards increase. Your habits upgrade. Your environment changes. Your energy rises. Opportunities show up because now you're aligned with them. You become a magnet for the life you want, not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once felt out of reach becomes the new baseline. And you start realizing that the limits you believed in were never real. They were just reflections of an identity you outgrew long ago.